Let me know when you get live up here.
Okay.
We'll
I'll
get
let you
rolling
know.
with it.
Guys, thank y'all for doing that.
We
And
appreciate
Tammy,
your
thank you
time
for
so
allowing
much.
your parents. That was nice to meet them.
Yeah, it was nice to meet them.
They were
Yes.
kind of shy, but I knew they wanted to say hi.
Oh,
And
that's awesome.
thanks
Oh,
for
I love that
singing my
too. It's
mom's
like, I hope
song.
you guys do well with your music. Like, thank you.
DC, we are live, brother.
All right,
I
brother.
love it.
Let's go ahead and get the intro in. We'll
All
get
right,
going.
let's do it.
Hi, this is Ivan from Men Without Hats, and you're listening live from Nashville to the D&D Dynamite 80s podcast with DC and D8.
Live from Nashville, Tennessee, you are listening to the D&D Dynamite 80s podcast with your hosts, DC and DH. So, guys, take it away. Hey, welcome in.
All right.
Weekly show.
Yes. Welcome into another episode of D&D Dynamite 80s. I'm DH.
Hey, I am DC,
And we're
along
back
with
with
our
our-
co-host.
Tammy's
Tammy.
in with us tonight. Yes.
Hey, guys.
Totally
Guys-
Cool 80s is what
Yes.
she's a part of.
Yes. And
Welcome
guys,
in. Not joining us from Austin, Texas tonight. Joining us from
No.
Wisconsin.
You
yeah.
bet.
Yeah,
All
Gary.
right,
Yes.
Awesome.
Yes.
Awesome.
And guys, you know, normally I welcome everybody in and I say, welcome to another episode. And DC, we always want to hear about your week, but since you're on
Don't care.
vacation
Yeah.
and I'm not, I don't
This
want to hear
teacher's
a
on
word.
vacation, man.
I don't want to hear a word about your vacation because I still have 2 weeks to go. So I
I
don't want to
hear
hear
you,
anything about that. But man, I am so excited about tonight's show. We
Is
have
this going to
Tammy
be exciting
in.
or what?
Yes,
Absolutely, man.
we have Tammy in, and I've told Tammy I'm going to kind of yield the floor to Tammy as the Speaker of the House would say. I yield to the gracious
right.
co-host from Wisconsin tonight. But I have some questions too. But I've been looking so forward to this, and,
Yes.
and I'm going to let you do the introduction, and we're going to get this one rolling.
I am such a huge fan of these guys.
Yes.
And man, when we got this thing all set up, I was just thrilled that it was going to happen. And Gunnar and Matthew, we appreciate you guys taking time with us tonight. We got Nelson in the house with us tonight.
Yes.
Guys, how are you?
We're very well, thank you. And we heard the lead in there, Men Without Hats, you know, and we can dance if we want to, definitely.
That's right.
But we are here to wax and wane on life before cell phones. Actually, my first cell phone was one of these jobs,
Yes,
you know, back
I
in the
remember
80s.
those. Yeah,
I still remember my number. It was 213-300-4141, and it was $2 a minute. LA Cellular. Life has changed, but not for the better. But yeah, and it's good to be here. Thanks for having us. And before we started on the air, we actually got to serenade Tammy's parents because they're
Yes,
big
we
Ricky
did.
Nelson
Yeah,
fans,
you sure
which
did.
is kind of
Yes.
fun.
Yeah,
And we're
yeah.
coming from Franklin, Tennessee, which is just a little
Yeah.
bit south of Nashville. That's where we
Right.
live. We got smart a long time ago and moved from the West Coast, from Los Angeles. It was already burning down 20 years ago. Actually, Gunner's been here almost 30 years. It seemed to be a really good place where there was creativity, and it was actually geographically kind of right in the middle of the country for people that flew out and did shows like we did.
Okay.
I was in LA for years longer. I'm Matt. That's Gunner, by the way. Matt in the hat. That'll keep it straight for you guys. Because I was always traveling. I was like connecting on a flight after a show, and Gunner was home with his friends, barbecuing, playing songs. I just felt like a schmuck. So it was time to move and start over again. And now basically California is trying to move here because it's as difficult as you would imagine. We just have to keep telling everybody who's trying to fly here and set up shop that they're coming as refugees, not as missionaries. Leave that stuff there. Telling you, you know.
Yes.
Right.
And,
Right.
and now, Gunnar, man, I have two questions for you right off the bat, and then I'm gonna yield to Tammy for a little bit. But the first one is, you know, we were young in the '80s, but how do y'all keep your hair?
Yeah,
I don't get it.
I'm
You
We
guys-
got the best doctors in the world.
That's
I
right.
mean,
It's,
you guys
it's
have got
that
these-
and lots of drugs and fast living too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I want to know. This is one of my favorite questions.
Wait. Hang on a second. I've got to stop you here. Did you ask that to Gunner because I was talking, or because you don't know if I have hair under this hat or
No,
not?
I saw
Okay.
your hair coming
No,
up.
Okay,
we
I-
knew you had
so,
hair.
yeah.
Well, I know.
Yeah.
I'm not doing the Brett Michaels. It's there. I got it. Okay.
Yeah. No,
Right.
no, I've seen recent. You guys have the hair, so I mean
All right.
that's amazing. But even more, I love to ask this question because this just amazes me to kind of have this answer. Was there at what moment, maybe a certain performance or whatever, did you guys think, wow, we're really doing this? I mean, this is really happening.
Well, it was the world's longest overnight success. Matt and I started playing when we were 6 years old. So, we
Sure.
actually started playing the LA club scene professionally when we were 12.
Wow.
That's one thing the book addresses. I mean, people had this misperception that Matthew and I were trust fund kids that made music as a hobby, and nothing could be further from the truth. And the book talks about the fact that we got our first instruments at 6 and at 7, our first recording session at 12, our dad produced, and the Pointer Sisters sang backup. It was pretty cool. And then Matthew and I were actually getting escorted into clubs that served alcohol and right back out after we played again from the time we were 12 and competing with. We had a gig the other day with Vicky Peterson from the Bengals was in it, and we were all playing the same clubs at the same time.
Yeah, it was great.
Wow.
Backstage, the talk was all about the like Michelle Myers, who used to book Madame Wong's West and all these places, like the politics in LA clubs in the 70s and early 80s, which was if you played at Wong's, Chinatown, or West, you couldn't play Hong Kong Cafe or vice versa. Otherwise, you'd get blacklisted. So it was like an either or choice. And it was really neat talking to her. I kind of remember the closest we got to the Bengals actually was Gunnar and I had a dinner with, I guess it was kind of a dinner date, but it was the head of the record company was there too, with Susanna Hoffs in Los Angeles with John Kolodner, a very famous record guy. And I remember, but to this day, I was kind of bitching about, well, this isn't happening, this isn't doing well. And I remember Susanna, that beautiful creature, just kind of like going, you guys have a hit record, right? Yeah. She said, and you guys are all over MTV. Yeah. You guys are playing concerts. Yeah. She says, then shut up and enjoy your dinner. And she was right. She was absolutely right.
Wow.
And she actually graduated from our high school, Pacific Palisades High in California. You know the name because they burned it down recently.
Yeah.
So, our that hometown that we kind of graduated from high school and the last 3 years of high school is no longer there, but Susanna Hoffs is. So that's a good thing. She endures.
But to answer your question, that was a very long way around. When we knew that it was happening, it really actually wasn't a show. We wrote about this too. It was Matt and I were asked to sit in for Daisy Fuentes as VJs on MTV. She
Okay.
was out for the week. And before we left for New York to do that, we went to the Sherman Oaks Galleria to get equipped on socks and underwear and all that. And, no one gave a damn that we were there, and that was fine, and we went to host the MTV thing. And over the course of that week, they had dropped our video for our first single for Love and Affection.
It was our countdown show. It was called Dial MTV, where people
Yep.
called in, and it was legit. There were no bots
Yeah.
or anything. They had to do that.
Yeah. So we got done doing that for the week. And then the day after we got back home, we did our first, it's called an in-store for the viewers out there. So you go to a local record store when there was such a thing as record stores. There was a Licorice Pizza record store there in the Sherman Oaks Galleria. And we actually, they sent a car for us, which made us feel nice and important. And we showed up in the back alley of the Sherman Oaks Galleria, and security met us there with a bunch of cops and the manager of the entire mall. And their eyes were as big as saucers. And they're like, I don't think we can do this, fellas. We've never seen anything like this before.
And we're like thinking we're getting punked. Honestly, we
Yeah.
thought because Lauren Cornelius, the guy from the record company, he was kind of a prankster. And we thought he was doing the anti-spinal tap thing.
So we were like, oh, yeah. We got in the freight elevator
Right.
and they took us up 3 floors, and the doors to the elevator opened, and it was like a jet engine of teenage girls shrieking at the top of their lungs.
Wow.
And that was when we were like, oh my God, what a difference TV makes. That was the only
Wow.
difference.
It was
Yeah.
literally 4 days earlier. Nobody gave a crap. And by the way, we were there for, I think, 45 minutes. And that's when these girls and their mothers realized that there's no physical way that 3 levels of a shopping mall were all going to come and get something signed personally and an autograph. We'd never done this before, really. And the cops started seeing people kind of pushing. And so they closed down the in-store. It was the first time, it was our first in-store, and it was the first time that we had a mall closure. And that actually started happening quite a bit,
Wow.
and again, Gunner's right. It was amazing for us to see. We knew just growing up with our dad being, probably the first visual artist on Ozzie and Harriet, people would tune into the end of the show to see him play. But we thought, well, we've been around celebrity our whole lives, not a big deal. We navigated whatever, but we didn't expect it to all of a sudden go from, hey, we played a lot of clubs. We restarted with learning how to sing and write better and really kind of hone our craft. We honestly thought it was going to take 3-4 albums, maybe. And then people would kind of get a hold of it. We had no idea that it was going to be literally Friday, we were nobody. Monday, we couldn't go out in public together. It was that much. And I think it was a good thing that we had each other and that we had been around those famous people to be able to navigate that. It was quite a shock.
Wow, that's awesome. And I wanted to mention Jackie Scott, 4890, says they're watching from Florida. So Jackie, thank you for joining in.
Thank you for joining in tonight.
So,
Appreciate that.
Tammy, what you got?
All right. Well, you guys grew up around legendary songwriting. So I'm wondering what's one songwriting lesson you may have gotten from your dad or grandfather or somebody that younger artists today desperately need?
Wow. Okay. I think before you even start writing songs, I think the most important thing is you have to figure out who you really are, your reason why, and your future listeners' reason why they should listen to you over everybody else out there. And it really comes down to figuring out what it is you have to give the world, what the unique message that you have. And in our case, the reason why we named our first record after the rain is we'd been through an awful lot after losing our dad and stuff. We realized that, after going a different route for a whole year and wasting that year being, just the guys we never wanted to be and being miserable doing it, that our superpower was finding the silver lining in every dark cloud. And we weren't going for the guns, the 85% of everybody who was after Guns N' Roses music. We actually were catering to the 15% of the walking wounded like we were. And so all of our songs were about hope and positivity and having lines in them like, don't be afraid to lose what was never meant to be. That was, and it was authentic. We weren't cosplaying.
Mm-mm.
It's really who we were and are as people. So I think authenticity is the number one thing before you start writing. Because if you don't get a handle on that first, hey man, there are tons of songs out there. I mean, how many songs are dropped every day now?
Oh, it's thousands.
I mean, thousands are dropped every single day. So
you have to believe what you're singing and what you're writing about because that's where it starts. And Gunnar and I realized that because we had done all of those years in the clubs. We were kids doing that. We had one or two decent songs, but we realized that for us, music is all about, especially popular music, is all about the power of a hit song. Nobody was going to give it to us, just like in life, nobody was going to rescue us. We had to figure it out for ourselves. And so we mentored and wrote with a lot of people. To your question, we wrote with people that had millions and millions and millions of songs to their credit, like Jim Peterick, the guy that wrote Eye of the Tiger and every 38 special hit there was, Robin Zander and Rick Nielsen and Gene Simmons and Paul Stanley and all these people. I'm not saying we got songs with everybody, but we learned the craft. And, we figured out that we had this sound. Really, it was actually by accident. What really broke us was writing some great songs with a very unlikely source. We hit it off with a guy named Mark Tanner. He had been an artist at Elektra Records 10 years earlier, kind of like a Boz Scaggs type of thing, and never really hit it. But for some reason, we decided to go to a music publishing house in Los Angeles, A&M, which A&M Records, they have a publishing house. We knew a guy named Tom Vickers there, and he gave us a pen. It was a genius idea. He gave us a pen and a pad of paper, and he said, I'm going to play you a whole bunch of songs from my writers, and I want you to write down the names of the songs that you really, really love, and maybe we can pair you up with the right guy. We listened for 3 hours?
Something like that.
About 3 hours. And
a verse and a chorus of got hundreds of songs.
And every song that we picked was this guy, Mark Tanner, who was kind of a reasonable, like an unknown artist. Sorry, I said it 3 times fast. That frankly, John Colodner at the record company kind of dismissed. And we just hit it off with him. We just had something great. And Gunnar, actually, we were doing demos for these songs. And normally I would sing like in the club days, I would sing most of the lower parts, what I would consider the main. We have a co-lead thing. We wanted to find a sound that was unique to us because that's important. Not only the song, but what makes you stand out, as Gunnar was saying. I went into the kitchen to go fix some cereal or something like that in the recording studio. And then I got caught up watching like Star Trek, The Trouble with Tribbles. And Gunnar pokes his head out and he says, hey, man, we're on the clock here. Can I just put a vocal down just so we have a place marker? Let me do your vocal. I said, sure, man, no problem. I'll come in and I'll do the real thing when I get in there. And here was the weird thing. He sang my part and I walked in and I went, oh, God, this is better than me. And I had to put my ego aside. And I said, let me sing your part, which was usually higher. And there was the sound. It was like this magical, oh my God, we just found it. And I've heard that before. It happened to the Bee Gees, actually. Robin was the main singer, right?
Mm-hmm. Robin was the main singer, had all their hits in their early years. Mm-hmm. And story goes that Barry was just in there messing around on the microphone, doing that falsetto thing.
Yeah.
And the producer's like, what is that you're doing? Do more of that. And all of a sudden, the Saturday Night Fever record came out of that.
Yeah. So it's like sometimes there are these happy accidents. God works in mysterious ways. And, Gunner's got this really killer voice. And when we do our thing together, we're not competing with each other. It's almost like kind of like what being a twin is like. You have that sibling harmony thing, but people they know it's us with a second. Oh, that's the Nelson guys. I know that. The only I guess thing contrary to that was when Extreme did More Than Words. Everybody thought we did that song. They still do. And at this point, we're just we're accepting it. People come up and say, "Hey, man, I love More Than Words." We're like, "Thank you. It's very nice of you to say."
So still watching the mailbox, waiting for the money. But
Right.
Yeah,
There
right.
you go.
Nancy, 27X3G has chimed in, said, "Hi, Matt and Gunn. Hope all is well. This is Nancy from Albuquerque, New Mexico. Still waiting for you both to come back here. Love you both." Music Lover 67 through 74 said, "Hi, guys. Looking forward to August for the City Winery show."
right on. Cool. Yeah. We're playing pretty much every weekend, which is fun. But we just got back from Milan, and we've got Nelson, our rock band, was out there headlining a festival, and we shot 2 videos, and we've got a new Nelson record coming out actually in January called Steamroller. And
wow.
I gotta say, I know everybody's in love with their most recent project, but I think it's our strongest record yet.
By the way, we're talking about Milan, Italy, not Milan, Kansas. Okay, so we took a flight over for a big festival, and we just shot 2 music videos and some of the live footage. And it kind of reminds me a little bit of like the early Bon Jovi videos, where you felt like you were, the FOMO factor. It's like, oh my gosh, I'm missing this. There's all this energy. The weird thing was that Gunnar and I realized throughout our career, but really on this trip, the way that they marketed Nelson in the United States was pretty much like a hard rock boy band. If you think about it.
Yeah.
They didn't do us any favors as far as saying, oh, the guys write their own stuff. They play their own stuff. They've done years. They're not. We were never in that whole Sunset Strip hairband thing. We just had long hair, but we were more like,
we started a decade earlier.
Yeah, we were like with the new wave and punk bands in LA 10 years earlier. Gunnar was actually a drummer, like a savant drummer, and started playing guitar. He came to me after our dad died and said, we just done Saturday Night Live as the only unsigned act ever to play on the show. And he was playing as a drummer, and we were both really, we missed our dad a lot. It was very fresh, and everybody that was looking at it had no idea about the backstory and thought, well, this is a little weird. We thought it was a little weird. It just felt like it was attention for the wrong reasons. And it took a lot for us to kind of reset and get ourselves together. It took a while, you got to get your head and your heart together. And Gunnar coming to me saying, and I'm talking the kind of drummer that really seasoned musicians in Los Angeles would hear that our band, it was called the Strange Agents. They heard that we were playing, and they would go to see this guy play the drums because he was this kid that was playing circles around him. He was really all about it. And I was always a bass player, so we always had that rhythm section thing going. And when he told me, hey, man, we're not going to be a rhythm section anymore. I got to come up front and sing with you, and I'm going to learn how to play guitar. I thought he had lost his mind even more than he had, but he did it to his credit. His first teachers were guys like Dweezil Zappa, who's an amazing player. And he had a guitar in his hand all day for a solid year and came out of that being a really good player. And we were writing these tunes and attracting musicians into our thing before it ever broke. And we really kind of got the songwriting together. But it was guys like Andy Parker, who was the drummer from UFO, was playing with us, or Vivian Campbell before he was in Whitesnake and now Def Leppard. He was our guitar player for a nanosecond. And we started attracted. We knew something was going to happen. We knew we were going to do it. But thank God, when it all came together, it came together the right way. It's just that in Europe, they promoted us as a rock band. Just me and Gunnar. I mean, obviously Nelson, we had great players. People only cared about the 2 of us, which no matter what we tried, that was fine. But when you go over to Europe, it's so weird for us, like we just did. It was nothing but black T-shirted guys with their hands up screaming, I can't live without your love and affection. It's crazy, which is awesome. So we've seen both sides of it. We saw like that kind of, that thing they marketed us to, like, we never did ever an interview in like a Tiger Beat or whatever, but we were all over those magazines. It was just easier for them to sell us that way. When everybody was doing black and white leather stuff, we had our clothes made for us, more like Prince, because, we realized we're not idiots, that nobody would think that we were gutter kids. It
Right.
didn't matter what they thought. We were kind of guilty until proven innocent, really. So we thought, well, why not just go all the way? We'll be an anti-statement. We're going to be colorful when everybody's black and white. We're going to sing positive songs instead of, we'll let other bands do the spilled beer on your girlfriend's kind of songs.
Well, welcome to the jungle is already taken.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So it worked out. We wanted to be kind of like, we were much more Cheap Trick and the Hollies than we were Metallica and Guns N' Roses. And we were okay with it. We still are. We just took a lot of crap for it in the States. In Europe, it's the opposite. In Europe, Japan, they actually had a store called Nelson Station for 3 years where all they did was sell our stuff. We were huge in Japan. Brazil, we were
literally and figuratively.
Yeah, literally was exactly. Those big Americans.
Yeah.
So we actually have had a great time. In the States, it was a little bit rough for us when Nirvana happened, and Nirvana, we talk about it in the book. That happened on our label, which was DGC, stood for David Geffen Company. They signed this little band from Sub Pop in Seattle called Nirvana, and we were out on the road doing our thing and came back to where everybody was fired and they were all 18 years old wearing flannel. And it was the epicenter of an entire different movement that honestly, when we talk about it, it was engineered. It wasn't a natural thing where all of a sudden everybody went, oh, now we're into this. It was kind of like more along the lines of, okay, now we're not playing any of this and it's going to be this kind of music and hip hop and that's it. And that's what happened. We know about the power of TV and media. Actually, our second album, we wrote about it, and it was called Imaginator, and it was about our experience with the media and, what a fickle master it is, especially as like we found out that our dad was dead on the radio. Gunnar was going to watch the television and stuff like that. I mean, it's kind of a love-hate coming from like the first family of American entertainment. Ozzy and Harriet ran 435 episodes, 14 years.
Yeah.
And, we have this thing where it's kind of like the medical establishment. We don't trust them. We got to deal with them, but we don't trust them at all because frankly, you are a number and that's okay. They call it show business, not show friendship, but we had each other. And I think honestly, that's what it took. It's like, when Gunner's not feeling up to it, I can be there kind of as spare parts and vice versa. And it's happened a lot, so we feel blessed every day. And all these years later, man, we still believe what we sing and what we write. We're having a great time that way. And I am here to tell you, you could make far more money doing anything else. Apparently, if you go to Minnesota and have a daycare, you could be really rich. But, we're not going to do that.
You don't even have to be able to spell.
That's right.
Right.
You can have your own Leering Center if you want to and drive a, Lamborghini. But, we love what we do. And we love actually
doing here.
I don't know. I don't know.
Listen, one thing I want to say, and you guys kind of mentioned this, the positivity of your music, you have and you continue to really provide such a gift to everyone through your music and by giving of yourself. And I know you probably don't hear this enough, but thank you for what you do for everyone.
Oh, thank you for saying that.
Yeah, that's really nice.
That's really cool. We got the greatest job in the entire world. Our grandpa Ozzy said that doing what you love to do for a living it is like having a license to steal. You never work a day in your life, really, and we really do feel that way. Every single day is different. I'm not saying every day is great, but every day is different. It's an adventure. We meet cool people all over the place. We got stories. That's why we wrote the book. People wouldn't believe it. It's like you just can't write this stuff. We did.
We did. And by the way, no ghostwriters. We really wrote it. By the way, and we're still twisted too, because as Gunnar was saying, that beautiful thing, doing what you love to do for a living. And I'm like going, it's amazing Gunnar isn't a porn star. But it's just kind of like, I didn't want to.
I got something to tell you.
That's right. Hey, Gunnar, no.
Breaking news right here.
Model on OnlyFans. Right?
Yeah, so people just want to see my feet. I'm telling you.
Yeah. Hey, breaking news on D&D. Who would have thought? Here we go.
Oh wow! I gotta say this to you guys. I just one amazing thing after another as I read through a bunch of stuff on you guys, and it was just mind-boggling. It really was. But one of them that was really cool, and I know I'm sure you're aware of it. You guys are listed in the Guinness Book of World Records.
Correct. We are the only family in history to have 3 successive generations of number 1 hit makers in it.
That is awesome stuff.
Wow.
Yeah,
really.
Well, we have nothing to do with the generations before, but it is kind of a cool stat. And frankly, look, we love being from the family we're from. There's a lot to be
Yeah.
proud of there because
Sure.
there were a lot of pioneers in that family. I think the through line of the family, if the family had a brand, is that we're funny and we're tough. That's it. We're funny and we're
Awesome.
tough.
Yeah.
You know, we have 3 rules too. We write about this. 1, be undeniably good. That means whatever you want. 2, never lose your sense of humor, because in this business and in life, you're going to need it. And 3, don't be a jerk, but we don't use that word. And I'm pretty sure you can go pretty far if you can follow those 3 things, right? If you distill it down to that. And all I can
Great
tell you is
advice.
all these years later,
Yeah.
man, what an adventure.
Come here.
You know, what an adventure we've had. Oh, hang on a second. Here's
Come
the
here.
star of the show right here.
Sorry,
We have a TikTok famous dog. This is our manager, Walter.
Yes.
yeah.
Oh, yes.
We have a
Hi,
critter with
Walter.
FOMO, and he's sitting there
Yes.
going, "Wait a minute, you guys are talking to that little box, and I'm not in the middle of this."
Oh, Walter.
Yes.
Hey,
Yes.
Now, see, that's actually why we asked you on, was just to
Ah,
see
we know.
Walter.
Right,
So,
to get to Walter.
Yeah, this is Licky Nelson.
that's right,
Yeah.
Licky Nelson.
Oh, man, that was
Hey, Walter,
awesome.
what's happening, bud? Thank you very much. Okay.
That's great. Oh.
That was
Okay.
awesome.
Tam, you're up, Tam.
Yeah. So, okay, if somebody made a Nelson biopic,
Mm.
what's one scene that absolutely has to be in the movie?
Huh.
Oh my gosh.
it has to be Licky Nelson that just happened.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
it
just
has to be there.
iconic.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny you say that because we just had a conversation about that today. I mean, we've had a lot of people, especially since the book came out. We actually had more people saying, "I had no idea you guys went through this. I want to do either a sitcom or a feature film around it." You know, the sitcom usually surrounds it from a chapter called "Raised by Wolves," because we have a lot of people saying, "Oh, you guys were raised right," or whatever. To be honest with you, our dad was gone 300 to 320 days a year, so he hardly saw him. And our mother was upstairs kind of cuddling a bottle of Smirnoff. So we had each other, and it was definitely not Ozzie and Harriet. Now, our mom was beautiful, very talented, but extremely distant and narcissistic. Our dad was the sweetest, biggest kid you ever want to meet. I mean, nobody had anything bad to say about him. He was a lovely, lovely guy, always told us he loved us. And we could spend that kind of time away from him and know we were cool, you know? But as I said, God gave us the 2 of us. And so as far as like what would be in a feature film, or like, look, a feature film, I think would probably get to the heart of the matter. The way we wrote our book was we each took a stab at probably the most important situation that we had, which was the actual day surrounding finding out our father was not coming home.
Right.
And we were actually supposed to be on the airplane with him. So it's very, very close to us. And we lost not only him in the accident, but all of our second family, which was his band that we grew up with. It was a lot. And then to see it on television and people saying not very nice things about him, you know, for a couple of weeks as the lead out story, you know, they have a news cycle, right? For some reason, everybody thought, well, this is a soft target. You know, it's Ricky Nelson, America's son, and, you know, all that kind of stuff. Our dad, you know, let's just say this. Our dad avoided conflict. I think the closest he got to that was when he wrote a middle finger in a velvet glove in a song called Garden Party after he got booed off the stage at Madison Square Garden, had a really big hit with it as an unlikely guy. That the long and the short of it was he's kind of smuggled it onto radio. One of the guys who was at that concert at the Garden was Pete Fornatel. He was a very famous disc jockey in New York at the most important station there. And he was so embarrassed about it happening. You know, you watched this guy just, you know, he played new songs and Dylan songs and he looked different. It was because he looked unlike he did in 1958. Everybody was there to see like a throwback thing. And he was trying to move forward, and he got booed off the stage, wrote a song about it, wound up on Fornatel's desk. And he was the disc jockey that they always write it into a movie where the disc jockey locks himself into the booth, and they have to break him out of it because he started playing Garden Party over and over and over again at the #1 station in Manhattan. And by the time they broke him out of that office, our dad, you know, there was so much, you know, kind of buzz around controversy about it. Everybody in the rest of America started going on the song, and he had this big monster hit song with a song that he wrote. And, you know, I think Gunnar and I, we learned a lot about that. I think that was the most pugnacious he got. Gunnar and I are different that way. You know, we try to disarm people with a little bit of humor, but we've got a lot of fight in us.
There's
you know?
well, on the one side, as Matt mentioned, we've got Harmon's, which is a very competitive sports family. I mean, Grandpa Tom got shot down twice and found his way out of the jungle in Guyana with a map of you know, the territory and a compass, you know, burned over 60% of his body, and went right back to flying 6 months later. I mean,
we don't have any quit.
Wow.
You know, that's it. For better or for worse, we don't have it. And
you know, much to my chagrin, I'm constantly fighting, you know, my mom's influence in my DNA, because being in this business, I have a hard time keeping my mouth shut sometimes,
that's what I'm for.
you know, so
I kick him under the table. and I
that has a little more Nelson to him. I have a little more Harmon.
Let's just say this: when Matt gets pissed, be afraid. I'm one of those guys that, like, it takes a lot to get me really mad.
I know he might just hit you with his parasol.
Uh-huh. Well,
Come on, keep up with us,
That's
guys.
right.
It's okay.
I'm laughing here.
yeah. So I guess that's what it is that, as I said, our pop wasn't really much for conflict. And there have been times, you know, this is a rock and roll business. There have been times where it's gotten, I mean, there's a chapter in the book, and we could write an entire book about the 2 years we were assigned to Lou Pearlman's label, believe it or not. You know, the guy that was behind NSYNC and Backstreet, and until Bernie Madoff was the #1 grifter ever in the entertainment business. You know, we're talking $500 million from, we didn't know about this, but we found out about it. And getting off of a deal like that is tough. But we did it, you know. It involved, you know, me chasing that guy around, you know, the St. James Club Hotel in LA, you know, with a hammer, saying, look, I'm going to beat you to death if I don't get that contract back. It was like one of those things. It just is not my finest moment. It worked.
It worked.
It scared the crap out.
Well, it's like that scene in Spinal Tap. Sometimes a nice piece of hickory in your hand is necessary.
It's a good influencer. Yeah.
It is. But, you know, all that aside, here's the greatest thing about being successful in this business is those fleeting moments when you actually do get some peaks and you're not in the valley, and kids really care. You know, you have an impact with kids. And back in the day, there was a little girl named Erin Vallely. I was asked a question on Patrick Laberto's podcast the other day. And he said, so what do you think about the whole Janie Lane thing and how he wound up? And I said, his reason why was not strong enough. And we knew Janie very well and stuff. And he said, well, explain that. And I said, well, you know, I think the height of Janie's reason why he did everything was, you know, for chicks and fame and the stuff that doesn't matter. And in our case, we wanted to have an inspirational message, and we made friends with a little girl named Erin Vallely, who was the poster child of the Orange County Children's Hospital, and she was fighting leukemia when we were going through the After the Rain tour. She was a friend of my girlfriend at the time, her family, and we just stayed in touch throughout the entire thing. And to nutshell the whole thing, I mean, our bus, Hotel California, in the middle of the tour, pulled up outside of the cancer ward after hours and visited with all the kids, and that was just an amazing thing. They couldn't leave because they were in the middle of treatment. We just played the amphitheater down the road, and it was stunning for them, and they loved it, and we could feel that love. That was the best part of catching some sunshine at that time, was having that kind of impact and being able to do that sort of thing. Wow. And so Erin, long story short, did not wind up making it, and she waited to die on our birthday so we would never forget her. And still to this day, we remember every time we have a birthday, a sweet little girl, and she was our reason why. And so I explained to Patrick, when your reason why you do everything is that strong, you become a dangerous person because you're a person on a mission. You've got a quest. It's bigger than you. It's bigger than all that other stuff that comes and goes. And man, Matthew and I have made and lost many, many fortunes.
Yes, we have.
As you know, as most of us do throughout our lives.
You know, what people do, especially bad people, is they promise you, oh, well, I can make you famous. Already been that. Well, I can make you rich. So we've done that.
Done that too.
You know, I can give you a #1 record.
Done that too.
Done that too. You know, they take the bullets out of their gun because they don't understand you're not doing it for any of that stuff.
Yeah, but can you make us matter to people in a meaningful way where they're inspired to do something or pursue something that they wouldn't have done ordinarily? And you know, honestly, that's kind of one of the things that gets us out of bed to this day. Is every day is an adventure. Some days suck, some days rock. But it's a marathon, not a sprint. And it's kind of cool looking back and looking at my twin and going, damn, you're old, dude. And we've been we've been through a lot, and we just had to put pen to paper. That's why we wrote the book that we did. By the way, for the record, my favorite chapter is chapter 45. If you don't have a hardcover of it, you should get the book and look at chapter 4. It's the best writing both of us have ever done in our lives.
I'm listening to the audio book right now, so I'm loving you guys actually
I wonder how they
voicing
handle
your own
chapter 4.
story.
How do they handle chapter 45 on the audio book?
I think it's silence. I think it is. But okay. So this is an actual book, Tammy. This is like, see, look at this.
It's a real book. Real book.
Uh-huh. Okay.
So funny enough, I design books for a living. I just don't have time to read the physical book.
So here's the cover here. I think it's what happened to your hair.
Well done.
Right.
Thank you. Okay. And so in case you want to know what you're in for, there is a back cover, unlike the audiobook, and it starts with, by the way, this is all of the worst actual quotes anybody's ever said about us. Okay. Because yes. So it starts with, you ready for this? I was married to their father. I'm not impressed. Mom. So that's where it starts. It winds up with a Beavis and Butthead quote, but
You like the book.
There you
Let me
go.
see. Is this a real one?
that's a real one. Yeah.
Okay, so let me go to chapter 45.
So our favorite chapter is chapter 45. We talked about it a lot because both of us had first marriages, and we figured we've got to address this in one way or another. How do we do it? We actually even wrote a chapter, and then we thought this just doesn't work. So what's the best way of doing it? So chapter 45.
Chapter 45 is called All of the Nice Things We Have to Say About Our Ex-Wives.
Tell me it's blank.
It's 3 pages of blank. So
I love it.
there you go.
Oh, I love it.
Oh,
I
that
love
is
it.
great.
Listen, I want to share one thing with y'all that kind of came to mind, Gunnar, when you were just talking about good days, bad days.
Yeah.
I think with the influence and the gifts that you've given everyone and continue to give, you need to remember, even on your worst days, you're still somebody's best hope of moving forward on that day.
Oh, bless you for saying
Because
that.
you guys.
Thank you. Well, we're also really well aware of the fact that our worst day is somebody else's best day. You know, the one thing here, not to be trite or anything like that, and this is not a Tony Robbins event, but the thing I do have to say is what we've learned in this entire journey is gratitude is the only wealth there is.
It's true.
If you're ungrateful, that's why I'm so sad with a lot that's going on socially right now, because I think a lot behind a lot of the acrimony we're seeing is this air of entitlement that is out there.
Yes.
Matthew and I have never, funny enough, coming from where we come from, we've never felt entitled to anything.
Isn't that ironic?
We felt grateful for all the recovering codependents. We're definitely grateful for any table scrap, you know? So honestly, sometimes that's the only thing that you've got gratitude for something when you know, when things are really, really dark, and they've been kind of dark in our lives throughout the years. But I always had my twin, and we always had this shared love for music. We just loved it. And then as we got older and had more stories to incorporate into our writing and got better at the craft of writing and recording and doing all that, you know, it's a pretty cool thing to be at the place that we're at right now and be able to get an idea for a song, and then 2 days later, it sounds like a record, and it's telling the story we want to tell in a way that's never been told quite that way before. And every now and again, those songs connect with people, and you're on stage. And unlike our siblings who are in the acting field, we actually have that direct connection where we can look out in an audience and they're mouthing the words back to us. And, you know, it's the greatest thing in the world. And
yeah, because we've seen that the actors in our family, they're regurgitating somebody else's words.
Right.
They're basically, they get paid for being the most convincing liars. We get paid for being the most honest people, you know? So we kind of learned that. And I think that's why our dad was the same way, because he grew up on that soundstage, and he was in Rio Bravo with John Wayne and Dean Martin, that seminal Western. I mean, unbelievable stuff. But it was that connection that when he got off the soundstage, because even when he sang on Ozzie and Harriet, there wasn't a live audience there. I mean, there were some actors or, you know, a crowd, whatever. But the real stuff was when he got those breaks on the weekends or in the summertime, and he would go out there and play these ginormous shows and set attendance records. It was that energy thing that Gunnar and I experienced at different levels. And I love with our book, Gunnar was just talking about that first time we did an in-store, and that happened a lot with like that jet engine thing. I mean, we put out a live album called Perfect Storm, and the whole first 3 minutes is chicks screaming. It's like a Beatles concert.
And by the way, any male musician that said they started making music for any other reason than to get chicks is a liar.
Yeah. I mean,
They are lying.
I'm telling you, it was fun. And some of those women were over 18. So that was good for us, you know, but we had so much fun on that. But again, in the book, we talk about this too. The very first kind of like real show that we played was at this hot club that I talk about called Madame Wong's. It was like the new wave spot, like the Motels, the Knack, all these the bands broke out of there. And the booker there really loved us. We were her pets, basically. We were like 12, 13 years old.
It was the
there.
West Coast CBGB.
It was West Coast CBGB. Okay. It was like playing at Max's Kansas City, but you know, on Santa Monica Boulevard. And Gunnar and I were talking about this with a friend of ours. We were actually interviewing him for our podcast. It was a guy named Gilby Clark from Guns N' Roses. Okay. And Gilby was in a band, a pop band before Guns N' Roses called Candy. Everybody that played Wong's wanted to be Candy because they always played on a Saturday night, the upstairs room. They got the good spot. The girls were crazy about them. They kind of looked like Duran Duran.
Yeah, great looking guys. The whole thing, you know.
Gilby was the lead guitar player in Candy, and he didn't know that we knew that. So when we got on this, we were like, man, we were big Candy fans. Like, oh, and he like turned into a different guy. You knew about Candy, and we started talking about Madame Wong's. And we started saying something about like, you know, the first break we got at Wong's, because you had to play the weekdays in the basement that used to be actually an embalming room because Madame Wong's was a converted funeral home.
Yeah.
Okay, and you would take the big elevator upstairs, and the bigger bands, once you graduated, you played upstairs, and you got a weekend gig. So we got a weekend gig on the 4th of July. We were 13 years old, and we were like, this is awesome. Now, never thinking that we're too young for people to actually come into the club. Anybody that, you know, is doing anything on the 4th of July, they're not at a show. They're at the beach. We lived in Santa Monica, you know, like that kind of thing. So we played to one person, the sound guy.
And he was pissed. He had to be working on 4th of July, and he was surly.
Now it gets better. Okay, so we're doing this thing, and we're telling him the story, and he freezes, and he says, I was that sound guy. I used to mix sound at Wong's as like when they couldn't find another mixer. That was me. I remember that show. So it all comes full circle. And then years later, you're playing someplace where, no joke, we would start our show, and the show was like 10 minutes of people going crazy before we even walked on the stage. You know, I always joke and say, we knew what it was like to be Taylor Swift for a couple of years, you know? And what really came in handy was really remembering those Wong's days and or stuff that our dad would say, like, boys, never forget that life and a career is nothing but a series of comebacks. And it's true, you know? So I think we were prepared for that. I don't think anybody could be prepared for the rug pull that was the grunge thing that happened to us. And ironically, none of those hair bands, all those guys, they wouldn't even let us in their little club. We were too rock for pop radio, and we were too pop for rock radio. We had our own thing. We were like the one rock band on pop radio.
Yeah, we kind of looked at it this way. Back in their day, we were really influenced, or I was really influenced by Boston. We loved Boston. But if you think about Boston, what is Boston? Because it's not a metal band, and it's not a pop band.
It's more prog.
It's like everything. Yeah. It's got elements of everything. It created its own category. And that's what we were trying to do, because we were really more influenced by that whole singer-songwriter thing in the 70s, you know, because all those bands at that time, the goal was not to sound, I mean, when we were like doing the whole first record thing, it was when the record companies were always trying to find their version of someone else's hit band. So let's say Guns N' Roses pops, then all the other labels signed their Guns N' Roses, you know? But in the 70s, when Matt and I were taking the school bus to grade school, it was AM radio. And you could hear Zeppelin right next to the Carpenters. They didn't care. You know, it was all about hit songs. And that's what really influenced the two of us, was being unique and coming up with your own sound and doing your own thing. You know, later on, it became a little more difficult, and it's always been difficult for the two of us to find the right band or bands to tour with, because it's pretty thin. You know, it's pretty easy for a lot of our friends that are in the Warrants, the Wingers, Firehouses, Slaughters, all that stuff, because they all tour with each other. But Nelson is kind of like like one of these things is not like the other thing, you know? So we had to go out on that first tour and headline, not because we had egos or anything like that.
We were more like the Journey or REO Speedwagon of our era.
Yeah.
Yeah, we wanted to write radio hits is what we wanted to do. We think that there's a real art in that. There you go.
Mhm.
You know,
Look at those hot Swedish chicks.
you know,
Look at that.
Dang, man.
Oh man.
Woo!
you know, to be honest with you, you know, we were mentoring with guys like Russ Ballard. You know, we went over to England to write with Russell, and you know, he wrote so many different songs that were the signature songs
Okay,
of the
so for
band.
those people who don't know, Russ was in the band Argent. So he wrote Hold Your Head Up. Hold your head
Yes.
up. Okay. He wrote You Can Do Magic for America.
Yes.
Mhm.
Oh,
He
great
wrote
song.
God Gave Rock and Roll to You for Kiss. I mean, the songs, oh my gosh, they were amazing. Like, was it
Since You've Been
Since
Gone.
You've Gone for Rainbow?
Yes.
Since You've Been Gone. I mean, just
Yes.
great songs.
Yes.
But you know, that guy was able to do these incredible pop hooks and fly under the radar of this rock sheen and stuff. And that's what we always wanted to do. We loved really well crafted songs, and it's not easy to write a great pop song, guys. It's just
Right.
it's not.
Well, we always say there's a lot of people. We used to co-write with a lot of people. You know, we were learning stuff, and then we realized just through getting older, there are some problems with co-writing with people, especially when you co-write a hit song, like a really big hit song, and the co-writer dies, and their publishing winds up everywhere. And so when you want to, you know, a lot of people say things like, in our case, Love and Affection and After the Rain, we had a co-writer on it. And he passed away and had no next of kin. And he also sold his publishing before he died to like 6 different people. So now when people come to us and say, hey, we want to have this song in our movie, or we want to, you know, have this, we'd love that. But then they realize they have to talk to 8 or 9 different people that all agree on behalf of one guy and the whole thing.
Yeah.
And it screws us up.
Yeah.
So that's why you can't really hear our songs in movies or whatever yet. Things are changing. We've figured it out. But
We started bringing things in house.
yeah.
And we've been doing that a lot more, just the two of us writing the songs. And, you know, it's fun to write with other people, but I don't really miss that process because I don't like having to explain myself a lot, you know, and we've done some pretty cool writing over the last couple of years. I'm really excited for this new record.
The new record's awesome. I think the only co-writer we had was Jim Peterick, who wrote Eye of the Tiger. We wrote a freaking anthem. We did like a vocal acoustic thing on TikTok, just a verse and chorus of this song. And we had more women lose their minds over this song called Amazing. You know, you got to do that song, got to do that song.
Again, it's a positive song. It's uplifting. Like you're amazing just the way you are, that kind of thing. That's the message of it. But it's definitely on brand. But here we are, Matthew being freaking old, and we still love what we do.
You know,
Would you guys ever do a Christian album?
I think we've been making Christian music since we actually debuted, but
Yeah.
it's you know, we're pretty subtle about it.
I actually won a Dove Award, which is their Grammy.
Yes.
Yes,
I actually sang backup on the #1 Christian rock album of the year a few years ago for a band called Day of Fire. It was the lead singer, a guy named Josh. What was his last name? I think Josh Smith. He was in a band, believe it or not, called Full Devil Jacket, and he died from an overdose. Saw some things he really didn't want to see, and told me all about it when we were working, and just basically switched his whole life around. And it was weird because, you know, he's tattooed with devil stuff all over him, and he's extreme. What an amazing voice. And I went in, I got a call from my friend Phil X, who's the lead guitar player in Bon Jovi now. And he took Richie Sambora's place, and he said, look, there's this great album. It's a Christian rock album. I said, okay. He's like, you're not, I said, just, yeah, let's go. Let's do it. He said, I want you to do the background vocals on it. Went in there with a friend of ours, JJ, who's in our band. And the producer worked with White Zombie and bands like, and Tommy Lee. He was like a metal producer for new metal. And this album turned out to be amazing. And if you listen to it, you felt something, but you didn't know it was a Christian rock album. But it had, I think their hit was a song called Cornerstone. And I got a call from somebody who worked on the project, said, congratulations, you just won a Dove Award. I said, what's that? It's like, it's a Christian Grammy. It's like, well, that's cool. I kind of wish Gunnar and I would, you know, at least get the nod from somebody. That would be really cool after 18 albums, but you never know.
I think we won an award in Fresno.
We did, yeah, the Fresno Awards.
Yeah, the Fresno. I'm just kidding.
That's okay.
Now, you know, Gunnar, one of the things you mentioned was influence, and that's going to bring me to the most important question of the night. Okay. Now, you guys can tell this is like a high budget podcast.
yeah,
here,
big time.
I mean, You know, we do our wrap up show and our post show Friday mornings at the Waffle House here in Smyrna. By the way, if
Smart.
you
Oh,
guys,
smart. Love that place. Love that
yes,
place.
Okay.
By the way,
By
they've
the
got
way-
a new menu item that actually Matthew and I designed. It's called the Fiesta Chicken Bowl. That's ours.
Yes, I've seen it on the
Okay.
menu.
That's
Yes.
ours. I was doing the
Yes.
protein thing for 2 years, and they were getting so annoyed because they'd have to describe what I wanted in it, and they created a menu item.
Now,
So
see,
yes,
So
see,
cool.
you guys, if you ever get to Smyrna, I mean, you know, I know it's about 20, 30 minutes down the road, but just come on down because DC's going to buy.
Yeah. Right. I
But-
end up buying
but-
all the time.
but-
yeah.
I
Here's
will
the
never
way-
turn down a trip to Waffle House. But I'm going to
telling you.
warn you, I've got my own Waffle House playlist that travels with me wherever I go in touch
Hey.
juice, because I think a quiet Waffle House is a crime.
I agree. I agree
Yeah.
100%.
Very true.
I got to tell you, Gunner and his Waffle House Leonard Skinner thing that he does. I mean, it kind of makes sense, you know?
Oh, my Southern
Yeah.
Rock playlist for Waffle House is on
Oh,
point. I'm
We're
telling you.
we're gonna have to make this happen.
Okay.
But the way this works, we're gonna give you two artists, and you're not gonna know whose artist is who, and you guys get to pick based on whatever you want, which you prefer,
Okay.
and then whoever's artist you pick, the other has to buy breakfast. Now, DC
Oh, I gotcha.
always accuses me of cheating, so DC, I want you to take it easy, just
We
take
never
it
know.
easy, because
Yeah,
I
we don't
got
know
a
till we know.
feeling you're gonna feel a heartache tonight, because
Mhm.
there's a heartache tonight for you. I know.
Well,
Okay.
geez.
No.
Uh,
You know, so but he always tries to say
It can't be that obvious. Are you
Yeah,
really
you
gonna be
guys
that
gotta
obvious?
go. You don't
No.
understand. We've been doing
Yeah.
radio our whole lives. We had our own
Yeah.
national morning show.
Uh-uh.
You better start going deep
Okay.
as far as
Well,
cuts.
If
You
you
know,
want to talk about the Eagles, we could talk
know-
about how Randy Meisner, the bass player that sang, you know, the high stuff or whatever, he was in our dad's Stone Canyon band before the Eagles. So we know
Awesome.
about the Eagles
And our
big time.
and
You know-
Matthew's godfather actually put the Eagles together as a backing band
for Linda.
for Linda
Ronstadt.
Ronstadt.
Wow.
And
John
Oh,
Boylan.
DC, you're screwed.
Guys, you're giving me a peaceful, easy feeling tonight.
Ah.
So DC, you go right ahead
That
with
was
it.
Glenn
Tell them
Fry.
what's
Gunnar and I
up.
went to Australia with Glenn in 1988 for World Expo. So
Wow.
we hung out with him for a
you
week.
gotta better start getting deeper than that. You can't
Yeah.
do Eagles. I mean, you got to do like Benny Mardonis. You got to go deep, guys.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. All right, guys. So here it is. It's
Okay.
actually it is Eddie Money
Okay, good guy.
versus
We loved Eddie. He was great.
yeah Don Henley.
Oh, man.
Did they do a duet? Because I don't know if they.
No. Are you asking us to choose between the two?
Yeah,
Yes,
which one?
that's-
Which one
that's
would
the
be
two.
your
Okay,
more
well,
favorite
now,
artist?
hang on a second. What's the criteria here? Because Gunnar and I both knew these people. I know these. Well, we know Henley. We knew Eddie. We
There's
live
no
shows with
criteria,
Eddie.
guys.
No,
just your
it's
choice.
just
No,
whatever your
so-
preference
Okay,
is.
well, here's all I'm going to
DA's
say.
picked one, DC's picked the other, and whichever one wins, the other one has
The
to
other
buy
one buys
waffles.
breakfast, yeah.
So
Okay, I'm going to say this. Okay, and I'm not getting out of this. If I was going to hang with anybody, if Eddie were still alive, it'd be Eddie, hands down. Okay, as far as a songwriter and an impact on humanity, I would have to say it'd be Don. I will say that we broke bread with both of them. Don was the most curmudgeon-y man you'd ever want to imagine.
It got to the point where I said, "What do you have to be sad about? You're Don
What?
freaking Henley. You know, you're in Hotel California. What's wrong with you?"
Now,
You know?
conversely, we did hang out a little bit with Paul McCartney, who couldn't have been a more affable, wonderful guy. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like this. Sometimes I got to say, it's better to not meet your heroes. Okay.
Mm.
Now,
To answer your question, it would depend on my mood, who I would normally turn to. If I was hanging out with a beautiful person, it would be
actually, hang on a second. I got to.
Eddie Money.
Hang on, no, hang on.
I'd be listening to Shaken. If I wanted to feel introspective, I would probably be doing
End of the innocent.
no Desperado or something like that. So I'm gonna go with Eddie Money. I'm
I'm
gonna
just going to go with Eddie Money. The only reason why I'm going to change my vote here a little bit, I'm going to say, and so I guess you're both buying. Here's the thing. Gunnar and I were invited to an album release party. Now, for people that are watching this, every time they debut an album for biggies, you know, especially in Hollywood, we're living in Hollywood. It's the same guy Gunnar said was our godfather, John Boylan. He put the Eagles together. He got a request to go do an industry only, no public. It was a concert for Don Henley, but he was releasing his first album in a long time called The End of the Innocents. All right. He had taken a little bit of a break. Eagles weren't together, anything like that. And he let everybody know through his management, he's not doing a single Eagles song. Okay. He's not doing anything that anybody knows. He's not doing, you know, was it Dirty Laundry? Nothing. He's going to do nothing but this album live, start to finish. Nobody had ever heard anything. So people were kind of grumbling, like, he's not going to play Hotel California or anything like that. And when I'm telling you, new band, it was in a ballroom in Century City, California. Nothing but the people you don't want to hang with, lawyers and record industry people, and just a-holes, the whole room. Everybody jaded. And I will say this, from the starting note of this whole album, from start to finish, just like in sequence, he played the whole thing live with this new band. And I'm getting chills talking about it. I'm saying it was probably the most magnificent FU to the industry I've ever seen in my life. Okay. I got to say, it was absolutely brilliant. The only person that came close to that live for me was Prince. But when I'm saying that it was so remarkable, and everybody was just gobsmacked because they came going, hey, he's not doing the stuff we know. Nobody cared. It was so good and so real. And, you know, when Gunnar and I went out with the After the Rain tour, it was 13 months in a row. The only thing that we played to warm up, just to listen and get inspired, was the End of the Innocence album. I still think it's brilliant. We actually wrote with Danny Korchmar, who co-wrote a lot of stuff like Dirty Laundry and How Bad Do You Want It? But we kind of knew all those people. But I got to be honest with you, that night, that day that he did that show, it was one of those top 5 moments in my life musically, and I've had a lot of them. So
That was the longest answer to a very short question.
they're both fine.
Okay, but so Matthew's going to pick Don Henley, and I'm going to pick Eddie Money. So who's buying?
So since Matthew had such detailed answer, the win goes to Don Henley. I win. DC's buying. Case closed.
And there we go.
Can we do it the old-fashioned way? Just flip a coin, you idiots. Just flip a coin.
Right.
Yeah, you're like the kid in Big Daddy who goes, because I win.
That's right.
That's because I win. Tammy's trying to put a vote in, but I got a feeling she's going the other way.
You know what? You have a tiebreaker, Tammy.
Yep.
I refuse to tie break. I'm saying DH and DC are buying you two breakfast.
Yeah.
Hey, that works. That works.
That's not good enough for me.
It doesn't have to be breakfast, Tammy. Waffle House is good enough for dinner.
For any of it. Yeah, anytime.
2:00 in the morning. And you know, DC, I'm willing to do that, DC, and I'll let you pay my half too. Okay. So it's all good.
I appreciate that.
You know, people don't know this. So your viewers out there, we had some pretty rotten weather in the last couple of years. You know, Tornado Alley seems to have moved a little farther south. And, you know, we had all the flooding, and when we've had ice storms, man, Waffle House is always open serving coffee.
That's right.
Yes.
No, they are. I mean, they're always out there.
They are.
They're doing their thing.
They're serving bad coffee, but good waffles.
Here's a little
I'm
trivia.
telling you.
Do you want to know why they named it Waffle House?
Because they had waffles.
No, because it was the one item on the menu that made the most profit.
Oh,
wow.
Was
I
the
did not
waffle.
know that.
Okay.
Yeah. Look, I've got a whole bunch of dad
See?
wisdom. I'm sorry. I raised 3 daughters. So I can't remember my social security number, but I can tell you all about the Ming Dynasty.
See, not only is this show fun, it's educational. We learn
Educational.
new
It has
stuff.
an
See?
educational spin on it
Doesn't
as
even
well.
have dad jokes too.
I know we have to wrap up soon, but I have one more question. When people leave a Nelson show, what do you hope they're feeling on the drive home?
Same thing that they would feel when they saw the first Rocky movie. You know, I'm really dating myself. We wanted them to feel 10 feet tall and bulletproof. You know, our whole goal when we put that first tour together was to give people a world they could escape into and get away from their problems, get away from their bad job or bad relationship or whatever. You know, just give them this cool place to dive into. And I think we really achieved that. I mean, that first tour put us in the poorhouse for real, but we wouldn't do it any other way, because still to this day, I've got people coming up going, man, the best show I've ever seen in my life was the After the Rain tour back in the day.
And I remember when we got the inspiration for how we were going to put the show together, before they kind of landed in Las Vegas, Gunnar and I, there was a traveling troupe that used to do Cirque du Soleil, you know, the French acrobatic thing or whatever, you know. They didn't speak English. It was actually gibberish they came up with because they didn't want language to be a barrier. It was weird. Like the songs were in made up language and stuff. And when I'm saying from the minute you walked in, you smelled it, you saw it, you felt it, and it was unbelievable. So I wanted people to feel that. And I think we achieved it, because by the time they left, they were kind of floating home. Like, what did I just experience? You know, and even with Gunnar and I, you know, I love it when I've got an acoustic guitar in my hand and it's just the 2 brothers and 2 guitars, away from the opposite of what I just told you with all the production and everything. We like it both.
Yeah, to sum up, our grandmother Harriet always told us when we got into this, she said, boys, just remember this. If you do this for a living, that the Nelson family has never been in the entertainment business. We've never been in the acting business or the music business. We've been in the connection business. That's what we do. So you keep that in mind. No matter what you do, it's all about connecting. And nowadays with social media, it should be called anti-social media. Everyone is more disconnected now with humanity than they've ever been.
Everything is look at me and look at my Waffle House food.
Yes.
You know, and honestly, we've always kept that in mind. So even, my favorite gigs are when it's just the two guys with two acoustic guitars, because I feel the most connected with an audience.
And you can't hide behind it. It's real. It's naked. It's not tuned.
So to answer your question, Tammy, that's what we want people to feel. We want them to feel uplifted
and connected
and feel like they know us a whole lot better, and they feel just a little more human than when they showed up.
Wow. That's awesome.
I will tell you guys, Walter, he has an amazing connection to people because the chat room.
Oh, look,
several folks on here. Yeah. Several folks on here are talking about Walter and how cute he is and hi, Walter.
Walter, we're talking about you.
He's sitting there looking at his little tail going.
That's right.
Yeah,
That's
Walter.
Right.
Your harmonies are fantastic. Thank you for them. They hooked me from the very first time I ever heard you. It's one of my first CDs I bought in college. But those rich harmonies are just fabulous.
Yes, thank you.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
I told you I should have a job. I told you that.
Well, be on the lookout. We've got a new project we're doing in 2007 with Carney and Wendy Wilson from Wilson Phillips called Sons and Daughters. So we're going to be like the modern mamas and papas. You like that?
That's going to be awesome.
If you like harmony, it's going to blow your mind.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay, and when does your new album drop?
That's January 1.
January. Wow. All right.
Yeah. Well, we've already filmed 2 videos for it. The record company's super pumped. Looks like we're going to go 5 videos deep and just release videos and get the social media stuff going, get people to create with our songs first. Kind of try something a little bit different, but it's a great album, honestly. And Gunnar actually did a lion's share of it because he's had a little bit of, he's got a studio and he's a great producer. I've always been a guy that likes to do the live show thing more than the studio. And so that balances out too, because when it's time to put a show together, that's my area. And Gunnar outdid himself on this one. And I can say that because growing up in music, we had some people that we wanted to work with production wise, especially mixing wise. Mixing a record is its own art. And there have been a couple of guys that we still work with for mixes. Chris Lord Alge is a name that he basically everything you've heard on the radio, he mixed. The other guy is a guy named Jack Joseph Quigg, who mixed bands that people kind of musicians know, like Jellyfish, and they're like really great pop rock albums that are like, sonic tapestries. And Jim Scott, who mixed the Chili Peppers. We've worked with all of these people. And it used to be a point where, we'd send everything in to have one of these guys mix it for us. And then it got to a point where Gunnar was sending mixes in and the guys were going, I don't really know how I could fix this, so, which is really great. So I'm proud of my brother.
Here's the secret. I'm not mixing anything. Walter is the next engineer.
Walter's behind
I know, buddy. I know. We're talking about
we
the
knew
secret's
it.
out.
Right. Walter's all about it. That's for sure.
Right now, the girls are on going, oh, Walter, more Walter.
More Walter. Yeah. Guys, before we let you go, could you let everybody know how to follow you? Where to get those tickets?
Yeah, NelsonTwins.com. It's super easy to remember. And
we're on bands in town, but our website tells you where we're playing. And we try to play as much as possible, what type of show we play, if it's a duo or a full band show. We're going to be doing more Nelson full band shows because, frankly, we're nostalgic now. And the book, it's important. Amazon.
Yes.
Get it on Amazon.
Absolutely.
Because they send it right to you.
And leave a review.
Yeah. If you actually bring it to one of our shows, we'll be happy to sign it for you. Okay. Fantastic. So that's kind of what we do. And it's a great read. It's an easy read. Enjoy the audiobook, which we actually did the recording on. And it was probably the toughest thing we've ever recorded because that microphone picks up literally everything. I've never been told by an engineer, hey, Matt, your nose is whistling, so I hand it to you guys doing what you do. We get it, but it's been a great thing, and happy to say it's a bestseller on Amazon in its category in the bio thing. So
congrats.
Who would
Congratulations.
believe that Matt and Gunnar Nelson can actually connect a sentence? You know, it's and no ghostwriters. It's us.
I didn't even know he could spell.
Right? I know.
That's what editors are for.
BS.
Don't get me started.
No.
We actually turned everything in. Matthew and I both went to Harvard's prep school when we were growing up, and we know how to spell. And we turned in our manuscript and we triple checked it. And
Even somebody that's a best-selling author check it, and we turned in the manuscript, and some 23-year-old in the editor's office decided to AI our manuscript, and there are typos in our book. It drives us insane, you know?
Yeah, so somebody fresh out of college thought checking our own spelling with AI was going to do their job for them, and they screwed the whole thing up. So
Now, I don't know if anybody out there that's listening uses Siri, but Siri's an idiot. What the heck? I mean,
yeah,
maybe 1 out of 3 things you ask Siri is right.
I agree.
So-
It's kind of
That's
like
a great
DC.
point.
1 out of 3
there you
things. He
go.
might
I
be
kind of
accurate.
fall into Siri's
yeah.
category.
Siri definitely went to public school.
That's right.
Yeah.
Oh wow! All right, hey guys. Hope that you can you stick out with us and let us close out the show.
Sounds
Sure,
great.
love to.
Let's do it.
Okay. All right. Go ahead, DH.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. that's
Tammy,
gonna
thanks
do it.
again.
Yes, Tammy, thank you so much. Guys, thank you for joining us. Either congratulations or condolences because you're now part of the D&D Dynamite family. So
Let's do
I
this
don't know
again.
if you're, yes,
Yeah,
anytime,
absolutely.
anytime. We would love to. It's been our honor to have you on. You guys are amazing.
Back at
Folks,
you.
that's going to do it for another episode of D&D Dynamite 80s. As I always end off before I send it over to DC, remember, folks, it doesn't cost anything extra to be kind. So always be kind to each other. DC,
Absolutely. Amen, brother. All right, let's get the sponsors in real quick.
let's do it.
D&D Dynamite 80s would like to thank their sponsors, Hudson's Flags and More, Jackie's Creations on Facebook, PJG Marketing, The Roy Band, Riley Rhodes Art Designs at rileyroads.art on Instagram, Totally Cool 80s, Charlie Bubbles Cares for Kids, The Magic Yarn Project, and Hearts for Isabella. Check out all these great folks online.
Yes, folks, check them out. And
Hey.
when we started this thing a little over 6 years ago, we said if we ever got to the point we could help out or give back, that's what the show was all about. And we have been very blessed to become associated with 3 organizations. We would like for you to keep in your thoughts and prayers, make contributions monetarily if you'd like,
Or volunteer.
donate your time, volunteer. The first one is the Magic Yarn Project. And what these folks do is volunteers across the nation, and they hand crochet and knit head coverings like princes and superheroes for kids that are battling cancer and give those to the kids for free. So, and it makes such a difference for those kids. Next is Charlie Bubbles Cares for Kids, our friend the Vooch, Paul Karafotis.
The actor.
What this organization does, he writes the Charlie Bubbles books, but when you make a donation, they provide books to children that may not have access to books otherwise. And as educators, we both know how important literacy is at a young age. So we ask that you support them. And then the third organization we actually met through Charlie Bubbles, and that's our sweet angel, Isabella. Isabella was born with a heart issue, and she succumbed to it. So her parents started Hearts for Isabella, and they asked Charlie Bubbles to write a book, which DC has there, showing you right there.
Yep.
But what they do
Braveheart.
is they go into hospitals and they help families that are going
That
through
are dealing
these
with those
situations.
crises. Yeah.
So just 3 amazing organizations, thoughts, prayers, volunteers, send money, donations, whatever you want to do for those organizations. We're just very blessed to be associated with them.
Absolutely. Great people. Great people.
Yes.
So check out their work. Real quick, next week, we've got Mark Kendall from Great White.
Yes.
Uh,
Gonna be
Tell him
on
we
the
said
guitar
hi.
for Great
Yeah.
White.
Tell me, say hello.
We will do it,
that.
definitely.
We will do that. So another great show next week. And we are DH. I don't know if I told you this. I've got just a couple of dates left in December. We're booked all the way through to December.
We are so blessed with the guests we have
fantastic
on
people,
and folks
we
coming
are
on
blessed.
and
You're right.
and guys, definitely would love to have you back on whenever you want.
Love to catch
Love
back up
to.
with you guys.
Well, that
Tammy?
sounds great.
I have
Tammy-
so many more questions for you guys.
We'll just have to do
You
this
have to
again.
hold them on to the next.
We got a lot of hours left with you guys. Come on, we got to
Yes.
talk.
Yes, we're gonna do that. Now, Tammy, I'm gonna say again, thank you so much. You are such
Yes.
an amazing co-host, such an amazing friend, and
We
we're just
appreciate your
honored.
support
We're just
as a
honored
sponsor as
that
well.
that you've taken us under your wing and kind of helped us along the way and all the things you do for
And
the
it's
show.
a tough job.
It really is, because
It
we don't know
is.
what we're doing.
It is.
We have no clue.
Right.
Oh, it's such a pleasure, you guys. Thank you.
You're more than welcome anytime you want to be on. You know that. So, yeah, guys, we appreciate it. Be safe in your travels.
Well, thank you.
We
Thank you. And
we
we'll see you at
are
Waffle House
we are
and
so
Tammy, give our love to your
pleased.
parents, okay?
Yeah,
so
we are
much.
so
Thanks, guys.
pleased that you're in our area of the woods, and hope that you're enjoying life here. It's a
Oh,
great
yeah.
place to be.
Loved it for 30 years. It's pretty
There
great.
you go.
Yeah.
There you go. All right. So for Gunnar and Matthew Nelson,
And Walter.
we appreciate you.
And
we
Walter,
appreciate
don't
you.
forget Walter.
And Walter. Absolutely. Don't want to leave Walter out as well. And yeah, very best to you. And
Same as that.
I know the book will continue to do so well, and all
Thank
that
you.
great stuff. So buy the book, guys, and check them out. Come out and see a show.
All right.
All right.
bless you
So
all.
for
Bless you
Tammy,
back. See you guys.
Matthew,
Bye.
Gunnar, DH, I am DC, and as DC always leads us out, keep playing that music, my friends. 80s, 70s, 60s, whatever you like.
See you
We'll
next
see you
week,
next week.
folks.